What is up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. This is Operation Smarty Pants, where our mission is to acquire knowledge and expand our minds. I am your host, Special Agent Ray, and today we are going to revisit the series Live to 100 Secrets of the Blue Zones. Boom, ba-dum, boom, boom, psh, boom, ba-dum, boom, 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 ba-dum, psh, 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 boom. All right, so this week I watched the second episode of Live to 100 Secrets of the Blue Zones. This is a series on Netflix that is hosted by a man named Dan Buettner, and he is traveling around the world to several different cities and towns where there are large numbers of people who have lived into their 90s and even over 100 years old, aptly named Centenarians. So in this episode, he visited two different places. One is Sardinia, Italy, and the other is a town in California called Loma Linda. So in this episode, we are going to cover everything that we learned from Sardinia, Italy, and then in next week's episode, we're going to talk about Loma Linda and the people there. So, like I said, this is the second episode. We actually already did a podcast episode based on the first episode of this series. That is, I think, the second one that I ever did. So you can go back, listen to that, Live to 100. It's about the people of Okinawa, Japan. They had some very interesting stories. So we're going from Japan to Italy now, Sardinia, Italy. So this is a small group of villages that are high up in the mountains, and it is found that Sardinia has 10 times more centenarians by population. So proportionally to the number of people who live there, there are more centenarians than anywhere else that you find people who are living to be this old. And each of these towns is about 700 meters above sea level or 22,000 feet. So that's pretty high for a little mountain town. So what makes Sardinia, Italy so special? Well, originally, about 13,000 years ago, this little land in Italy was settled and founded by a population of people. And way back then, it was called Barbagia, and that comes from the root word of barbarian. So it was called Barbagia, and this town was coveted to some degree. There were several types of conquerors who, over the years, tried to come and take this place for their own. The documentary referenced the Phoenicians, referenced the Romans, referenced the Arabs, and the people of then Barbagia, now Sardinia, were very resilient. They fought back, they refused to be conquered, and they moved up and up further into the mountains in order to keep their land and keep their peace and keep their freedom. So there is definitely already a spirit of resilience amongst these people based on the actions of their ancestors. So I was very interested to find out from the people themselves. They would go around and Dan would interview. He had a translator with him. They would interview some of these elders and ask them what their secret is to their longevity, what they think has contributed to their health over the years. And as we've talked about before, I am super interested in health and longevity. My goal is to live to be 150 years old at least. I think that's possible, especially I'm starting right now in my late 20s, really committing to a healthy lifestyle, a healthy mind, healthy body, healthy spirit. I exercise 6 to 5. I just said that backwards. I exercise 5 to 6 days a week. I take rest when I need it. I eat a very healthy diet. I've really committed to healing some of the health problems that I developed in my early to mid 20s based on stress, based on other environmental factors. And now that I'm getting better and getting super healthy, I feel very dedicated and very committed to maintaining that health for as long as possible. And I enjoy life and I want to live a lot of it. I mean, we only get so much time here on this earth. Even my goal of 150 years is really not that long. I mean, we are grains of sand in a dust storm. We are a fart in the wind. We are a snap of the fingers in a sea of applause. I mean, our lives are so small and so little. Why waste any of the precious time that we have on this earth, and why not strive to give ourselves as much time as possible? So I loved the first episode. I loved the second episode. I'm always open to learning more about how to live the best, healthiest, and longest life possible, because that's what I want for myself and for my family. And I mean, I want to live to see my children, my grandchildren, hopefully my great grandchildren. I actually just recently lost my great grandmother, who I was lucky enough to know growing up through my childhood. She was in her late 90s. She passed away just recently. It was expected. It was peaceful. She was losing her memory. She was losing some of her faculties. She had taken a fall and had broken a hip. So I believe that she is at peace now. And while her passing is, of course, sad, as it always is, death is a natural part of life, and we are all going to meet it someday. And the best we can do is to know that and accept that, but then focus on the life part. And that's what I want to do. I have sort of a tattoo that I'd gotten a while ago in remembrance of the time that I was able to spend with them growing up and my childhood, and being able to know people in my family in such a way. So I think about those times. I think about when I was a kid picking blackberries from wild blackberry bushes out back of their house and running and splashing around in the little creek that was nearby. And that's what I want to carry with me, is the life part, the happy days, not the sadness of death and passing, but the positive memories of life and living. Okay, got a little off topic there. I mean, sort of, it's all on topic. It's just not the topic of the documentary. So let's get back to the documentary. So they interviewed a woman named Vittoria Meru. She was 96 years old. And Dan asked her first he asked her how her health was, what she thought her health was like. She said, bad, good, or excellent. She said good. She thinks her health is pretty good, maybe even excellent. I mean, to be 96 years old and up and moving around, walking around, and being able to have a coherent conversation with somebody else, I think that is excellent, in my opinion. So I appreciate how humble she was in her own assessment of herself. But she's obviously in very good health. Good or excellent is still amazing for 96 years old. And Dan asked her why she thinks that she has lived this long. And she said faith and hope. She said she goes to church every day. Of course, she prays. She has faith in her God. She has hope for the future. And she said that is not her doing necessarily. Like, why she's gotten to this age is not necessarily her doing, but it is the work of the Lord and her faith and his blessing coming down upon her. And I do think there is something to be learned here, whether you are a religious person or not, whether you subscribe to the Christian religion or any other sort of religion, whether you're an atheist or just a spiritual person. I think there is a lesson to be learned here about faith and hope. And I want to look at the definition of hope. So, according to our good friend ChatGPT, hope is a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. It is often associated with a positive outlook and the anticipation of a favorable outcome, even in uncertain or challenging situations. Hope can motivate people to persevere through difficulties and is considered an important aspect of human resilience and well-being. So that last sentence, hope is considered an important aspect of human resilience and well-being. What do you need to live to 100 years old? You need resilience and you need to be well. You need to be healthy. You need to be able to endure difficulties and persevere through hard times. And you need to be able to keep yourself well and healthy through those difficulties, through those hard times. Because hard times and difficulties and stress and challenges and setbacks and all those things, those are inevitable. Those are a part of life. We cannot escape them. To attempt to do so is an exercise in futility. The better thing to do is to cultivate your mind and your emotional state and your physical state in such a way that you have the best chance possible of succeeding in the face of challenges and difficulties. And then once they come your way, you can face them head on with hope and confidence and bravery. So this is, in my opinion, very profound when Victoria says that faith and hope have gotten her to this age, because she is A, looking to something outside of herself, and B, accepting that she cannot control everything. And maybe that she can only control very little. She maybe can't control a lot of the things that happen to her in her life, but she has hope for a favorable outcome. She is, in her own mind, believing that things are going to end up good and end up well. I feel like there is a lot of what's the opposite of hope? Desolation, despair, maybe, pessimism. I think that all of these things sort of permeate our society at the moment. I mean, we are edging closer and closer to a true dystopia, the kind of things that we once read about in science fiction when we were kids, and now, oh look, we're very close to living it and seeing it carried out in our society today. And I think that fosters hopelessness in people. People are looking around at their situations and how hard it is. I mean, again, living here in America, inflation is crazy. All of the political unrest and division and battling back and forth is dividing families, dividing friends, drawing such hard lines in the sand that people are, staking their identities in what they believe in and pushing out what they don't. And it just, we're feeling like we're on the edge of another world war. So there's certainly a lot of hopelessness that is sitting in the hearts and minds of the people of the world today. And I think that does all of us a disservice, because if we're feeling hopeless, if we're anticipating bad outcomes, if we are giving in to the despair and and just feeling so discouraged about the future and about our lives and possibilities, then it almost feels like, well, what is there to live for? And I think a lot of people are asking themselves that question, maybe subconsciously or consciously: what do I have to live for when life is so hard and I have no control over the things that are happening to me or to the world in general? And there are people dying in Palestine. There is so much suffering. What is there to live for? And when you feel like there's nothing to live for, then it's going to be very hard to live a long life. That is not the mindset that's going to get you to 100 years old. And so Vittoria Meru's saying she has faith and she has hope, and that is what has led to her longevity. She is saying that your mindset and what you believe about the world and what you believe about yourself and the things that you are looking for in your day-to-day life. Are you looking for positive things? Are you looking for things that are going to make you healthy? Are you making choices that are going to lead to longevity? Or are you sitting and wallowing in your despair and in your hopelessness? I mean, for me, I'm trying to have hope. I'm trying to believe and trust and have faith that everything will work out in the end. And a lot of that is gratitude as well. I am very grateful for the life that I have right now. I have a healthy working body. I have a roof over my head. I have steady work and a steady income. Yes, it's not perfect. And of course, I'm spending a lot of money and not making enough to, be thriving. But I'm getting it done, and life could be a lot worse, and my situation could be a lot worse. So I have gratitude for where I am now, and every day I am looking for the little things that show me that things are going to get better. And I have, even though it feels to some degree impossible, or I don't know how it's going to happen, or I don't have any sort of plans. Again, I don't have control over what happens out there in the world and what happens within society, with the economy in the next couple of years, but I do have faith and I do have hope that it is going to get better and improve. And I just got to look for the signs, look for the little signs along the way that say, hey, yes, your faith will be rewarded. Your hope is not misplaced. There's a quote from a song that I've been listening to recently and that I repeat to myself sometimes when I feel like I need to hear it. It's a song by a rapper named Andy Mineo, and just the little snippet goes, "Life is hard. I thank God it could be worse. It could be way worse." And that's pretty powerful. There's an acknowledgement there that, yes, life is hard, especially right now today. For a lot of people, life is hard, but it could be worse, right? It could be worse. So why not be thankful and grateful for what you have now and use that to try and within yourself foster hope for the future? Okay, that segment went on way longer than I thought it was going to, but that's okay. I feel like it was important to be said. We're going to move on to, we're going to go back to the documentary, back to the people who live in Sardinia, Italy. Let's look at another reason why these people are so healthy, and it is because of their exercise. And they're not going to the gym, they're not lifting weights, they're not dedicating time every day to exercise, but their daily habits and their daily life, and actually the place where they live, just the natural layout of these villages, leads to a situation where they are exercising every single day. And what they are doing is they are walking hills. They are walking up and down hills. These little villages in Sardinia are very steep. Very steep. Like I said before, they're high up in the mountains, so they're built on these steep inclines anyways, and so it's much easier to build with the incline than to carve out a bunch of flat land. So every day they are walking hills. They are walking hills, and this is super good for you. This is a great form of cardio. Walking up hills increases your heart rate and improves your cardiovascular endurance in the same way that like running or sprinting would, except you're not putting in the kind of, I don't say effort, because you still have to put in effort to walk up these hills and stuff, but it's different. Okay, so it's more like this. You're not putting as much stress on your body as you would if you were to, say, sprint on flat ground, because that's going to take a lot. That's a lot of impact on your feet. That's a lot of involvement of all the muscles in your body, and it's difficult to sustain for a long time as well, and especially for these people who are older. These people in their 80s and 90s, they're not going to be able to sprint, right? But they can walk. You can walk, and you can walk up a hill, and you're going to get some of the same benefits as if you were to exert more effort to do some sort of cardio on a flat ground. So it is a good form. Walking up hills is a great form of cardio. It also engages your muscles, all the muscles in your legs, and especially your core as well, to maintain good posture. So it's better than walking on flat ground. You're going to be able to build those muscles and maintain those muscles by walking up and down hills. Of course, walking on the incline is just going to burn more calories anyways. And the weight-bearing nature of walking, especially hills, can help improve your bone density and reduce the risk of osteoporosis. So that's specifically important for women trying to avoid osteoporosis. Men, of course, too, are going to get benefits from that. But walking hills has the same benefits or similar benefits to like running, sprinting, other forms of cardio, but without the impact and the stress on your body. So that's why these people who are 90 years old, 100 years old, they can walk hills, and that is a great form of exercise for them. And again, it's not something they have to do separately. It is just part of their daily life. So their daily life involves these healthy habits. Like for me, the town where I live, the city where I live, is very flat. We don't have a lot of hills. If I want hills, I have to go out into nature and find hills. So what I've been doing recently, and this was suggested to me by my boyfriend, who is a personal trainer, nutritionist. He is very healthy, knows a lot about the body. He suggested this as a good form of cardio to do regularly each week. And I've been doing it for several months now, and I definitely see a difference just in the way that I feel and my ability to exercise, and just my own, like I do see myself leaning out and losing fat. And I'm just doing it on a treadmill. We have these fancy treadmills at the gym that I go to that can go up to a 30% or 30-degree, one of those two, incline. I think it's degree. They can go up to a 30-degree incline. So that's pretty steep. And even walking on a 30-degree incline for half an hour is very tough. It is very hard. I am struggling, but it's great exercise, and I burn about 500 calories in half an hour by walking on this incline. So it is definitely super worth it, in my opinion. So if you're looking for a form of exercise that is going to contribute to your longevity without putting a ton of stress on your body, then I suggest you do some incline walking, whether that is at your gym on a treadmill, or even better, go on a hike. Go on a hike, go out into nature. It is so good for you to be out in the fresh air and the sunlight. It is so good for you to be breathing the same air as the plants and the trees are breathing, and looking at green things, and just getting away from civilization and the hustle and bustle of the city. Not only is it good for you, your body, to be out there, but it's good for your mind as well. And most hikes are going to have some sort of incline. There's going to be easier hikes with less incline. There's going to be harder hikes with more incline, decline. I mean, people climb mountains for fun, right? So you can go find a mountain if you're really, really dedicated to it. So that is my suggestion as an easy form of exercise that is going to heartily contribute to your overall longevity. All right, we've talked about your exercise, we talked about your output, now let's talk about the input. Let's talk about food. What are the people in Sardinia, Italy eating? In the first episode about Live to 100, we talked about the specific foods that the people of Okinawa eat, and there are specific foods that the people of Sardinia are eating, and it differs vastly from the people of Okinawa. And one thing that they do eat a lot of, I mean, this is Italy, you guys, say it with me, bread and pasta. They eat a lot of breads and pastas. They eat a lot of carbs. Now, in the West, in America, carbs have been demonized for a long, long time. I mean, they are one of, it makes no sense to me. They're one of the basic macronutrients, carbs, fats, proteins, that we all need to eat in order to live and to survive. Carbs are fuel, carbs are energy. Our body takes these carbs and uses them to keep us going throughout the day. It's like if they say that, oh, gasoline isn't good for your car, it's going to make it fat. It doesn't make it fat. It keeps your car going. If you have too many carbs, yes, you can overeat carbs, you can overindulge, but that's with anything. You can overindulge on anything. The key is moderation, and the key is preparation. So one of the reasons why the carbs in Sardinia, Italy are good is because A, they're overseas, they're in Italy, there are stricter regulations on the quality of the flour and food and ingredients that can be made and produced over there. So overall, they're going to have less of the BS that American-made food has, less of the fake vitamins and nutrients, less of the chemicals, less processing. And they are also prepared differently. So for example, their sourdough bread is true sourdough bread. It is made with a sourdough starter that is fermented and contains live bacteria. And what that does is it makes it more healthy for your gut. It makes it better for your body, makes it easier to metabolize. Now, I love bread. I love bread. I love sourdough bread especially. I always have it in the house. I eat it just about every day, if not a couple of times a day. I'm half white, and the half white part of me loves sourdough bread. And I used to have a lot of gut issues. And so one of the things that is suggested that you cut out is breads, because the gluten in breads can really wreak havoc on your gut and make things worse. But I found that sourdough breads are fine. Sourdough breads were good for me because they are made, I mean, they have to be made properly, but because they are made with the bacteria and the sourdough starter, then the bread is healthy and gut friendly and did not affect me in a negative way. But I mean, it was at least neutral. I don't know if it was positive or not, but it was at least neutral. It wasn't making my issues worse, and it tastes delicious. I think I'm pretty sure I've talked about my love for bread before on this podcast, but what I like to do is I'll toast it up so the edges are nice and crispy. It's got a good crunch. I love things that crunch. I spread ghee on it. I don't eat regular butter. I eat ghee. So ghee is clarified butter, similar, but it's, again, more gut healthy. If I'm feeling adventurous that day, I will crush some raw garlic and spread that over the bread, and then top it off with some Celtic sea salt and any other spice blend that I'm into at the moment, and it is delicious. I love it. So the people in Sardinia, Italy are also eating a lot of good bread. They're eating a lot of homemade, handmade pastas that they are creating themselves. They are also eating a lot of complex carbs and other fibers. So, for example, beans and vegetables. I know that beans are super good for you. I don't eat a lot of beans, but after watching this documentary, I'm feeling a little inspired to maybe try some more beans and insert beans into my diet. And of course, vegetables are good for you. Not only are they carbs that have a low calorie but high volume, meaning you can eat a lot of them and you're not taking in very many calories, but vegetables also contain tons and tons of micronutrients, so vitamins and minerals that are also important and vital to your health. You need a balance of both good macronutrients that also contain good micronutrients. So it's not just about protein, carbs, fat. If the protein, carbs, and fat are chemicals and fake food and bad quality, then you're screwed. That's not going to do it. You need to be eating good, fresh, high-quality foods as well. And so one of the dishes that they prepare a lot in Sardinia is minestrone. Minestrone soup, which is basically a good soup broth, good soup base with any sort of vegetables that they have around at the moment. Beans, sometimes they'll throw pasta in there. I mean, I'm sure you can add meat in there if you want to, but that's not necessarily have to have it or traditional. And this is something that they eat every day. Soup is very good for you. I'm a big fan of soup. I actually had good, authentic Italian minestrone soup just yesterday. It was my boyfriend and I's 4-year anniversary. We went out to a cute little Italian place for dinner, and I had minestrone soup. Again, so inspired by this documentary, I was like, we're out here. This is Italian food. Let me try minestrone. It was good. It was really good. It had a really good flavor. However they prepared it, whatever they seasoned it with, delicious. So if you want to live for a long time, eat minestrone soup. All right, you guys, I've got one more subject to talk about pertaining to this documentary and health and longevity just for this episode. It's going to be a little shorter this time, partly because there wasn't a ton to cover because this is only half of the episode, partly half of the documentary episode, partly because I am tired. I've had a busy weekend and a long day today while recording this, so we're going to power through this last part. And this last part is about what these people do, the people of Sardinia, what they do every day for work, and stress and how that affects them. So they followed, in the documentary, they followed a man named Gino Loci, who was 91 years old. He is a working shepherd. He is a working goat shepherd, so he still takes his goats out to pasture. He's watching over them. He milks them. I'm sure he then takes this goat's milk, and that is what he sells, turns it into, maybe turns it into yogurt. Maybe he just sells the milk, but that is his job. That is his business, is being a goat shepherd. And you guys, I cannot tell you how lovely this life sounds to be a goat shepherd in a small village in the beautiful mountains of Italy. I could not. I wish. I wish. So Gino is a working goat shepherd. There are apparently other men who have this profession. Maybe they shepherd other animals. Maybe it's also goats. But this type of profession, this type of job, according to the documentary, is another contributor to the long lives of these people. So why is this? Number one, their job takes them outside, into the sunlight, into nature. They are working with animals. I think animals inherently have a very good energy. They can be pure in a way that human beings are not. They are much simpler creatures. They have very different goals and needs in life than other humans do. And to take care of an animal is a very rewarding thing. It is a very rewarding thing to do. So the men of this village of Sardinia are working with animals. They're out in nature. Their days and hours that they work are not long, hard, grueling jobs. They are, done at a reasonable hour. They have time to take naps at the end of the day. They have time to go out with friends in the evening. And the key here is that, yes, they are working, but their work isn't stressful. They are working, but they are not stressed. And that is a far cry from the lives of the working class here in America who are working and stressed. And you guys, stress is not good for you. It is not good for you. Well, I'll put an asterisk there. We're going to talk about it. So stress is a natural adaptation. It is a natural adaptation that is part of our survival instinct to keep us alive in a worst case scenario. Okay? So when something bad is happening, our bodies will put us into a state of stress in order to deal with whatever the bad thing is. if it is a problem to solve, if it is a threat to our lives or the lives of people around us, then yes, stress is good to get us out of that situation. And what happens when you are stressed is that your glucose and your inflammation spike. And that does, again, in the moment, short term, help you. But long-term stress or chronic stress is bad. I don't think that is a new concept to anyone who is listening. I'm sure you guys know that chronic stress is bad, but how many of us are actually doing something about that? How many of us understand how bad chronic stress actually is for us? How many of us are living with chronic stress, but maybe don't even know it, or we know it on some level, but that's just the way life is. That's just what you have to do, what you have to deal with. So we have accepted it as our reality and are walking around little balls of stress, getting older and more unhealthy due to this stress every single day, and not changing and not doing anything about it, not coming out of this state of stress into a state of rest and relaxation, but just staying stressed because that's what you have to do to survive in this modern day and age. And this goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning about the despair and the hopelessness. That is a form of stress. That is a form of the mindset of, oh, life is bad, life is horrible. It's never going to get better. It's only getting worse. I'm stressed out about what's going to happen in this election. I'm stressed out about what life is going to look like in 2 years from now. I'm stressed out about this big project or big thing that I have coming up for my job next week that could make or break this quarter, on and on and on. There's always something to be stressed about. And that's killing us, you guys. The stress is killing you and it's killing me, and it's not good. Like I said, stress is a natural part of our body and of our system. It is there as a tool to get us through bad situations and to solve problems, but it's only good when it does just that. It helps you solve a problem, get out of a bad situation, and then the stress goes away. And then you can go back to regular life and keep on living happily, low stress, doing what you got to do. But if the stress continues and keeps building and building and you never solve those problems and you can't solve those problems, lots of the things that people are stressed about in today's day and age are problems that they can't solve. Like, think about what's happening in Palestine right now. I'm sure people are stressed about it. I mean, I was stressed about it when I first heard about it. And I mean, I'm not Palestinian. I don't have family over there. I don't know people over there, but there are people who do, who those are their people. That is their homeland. They're over here in the US or whatever country it is. They can't do anything about what's going on there. They can't help those people. They can't solve their problems to any sort of large or significant degree, but they're stressing about it. They're stressing about it. They're worried about it. And of course they are. I mean, I don't blame them. Of course you're going to be stressed and worried, but that stress and that worry isn't helping them. And it's not helping the people that they're stressed about. It's not helping anyone. It's just making your own situation worse and your own mindset worse, and it's making them and you unhealthy. To be stressed about something that you cannot change and that you cannot control. That kind of worry doesn't help you. And it's not going to help the people or the situation that you're worried about either. I mean, think about the election that's coming up in November of this year, the year of our Lord 2024. To a large degree, we can't control that. The one individual person cannot control the election, cannot control what happens. It doesn't matter which side of the line that you're on. It doesn't matter who you're rooting for, who you want to win or not. You can't control that. You can control your vote, but even then, the votes really don't matter. Sorry to break it to you, your vote really doesn't matter. So you can't control it. There are things going on behind the scenes. There are plots and plans and machinations that we as a general human populace know nothing about, have zero control over. And yet, people are stressed and people are worried and people are taking to social media to proclaim their stress and proclaim their worry to the world. And again, that's not helping anybody. That's not helping you. That's not helping anyone who's listening to you. That's not helping anyone who's working up in the government for either side who's trying to win the election. It does nothing. It does nothing but only perpetuate the despair and the hopelessness and the fear and the stress. So what do? How do we combat this? Stop worrying? I mean, it's easy to say. It's easy to say, and that is the solution, but I understand that it is difficult to do, right? It is hard to just tell yourself, oh, I'm worried about this. Let me just stop. I mean, some people can, and you kind of have to train yourself to some degree to be able to stop worrying about things. I've worked on that a lot. I'm a big fan of the teachings and principles of Stoicism. And one of the main teachings is to not worry about the things that you can't control. If you can control it, if you can make a change, great, do it. If you can't control it, let it go. Stop worrying about it. And it's hard. It's tough. And my suggestion, my advice is to, instead of trying to remove worry and remove stress from your life, think about something positive that you can do to replace it. Something positive you can use to replace the worry and the stress. Because if you just try and stop, then there's a vacuum in your mind, in your emotional state. You've told yourself, I'm going to stop worrying, I'm going to stop being anxious, I'm going to stop stressing. But then what else? Once that's gone, what else is there? And if you don't have anything else to fill that void, then you're going to go back to stressing and worrying, because that is the pattern of your mind. So you're trying to break that pattern. You got to find something new to put there instead of the stress. The first thing, the best thing, my suggestion, gratitude. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Gratitude makes you happy and content with where you are and what you have. And what the things that you do have available to you, the things that you do have control over. Be grateful for those things. So if you find yourself sitting there stressing, ruminating on whatever you're worried about, the first step is to recognize that you're stressed. Have the wherewithal, have the conscious thought of, I'm stressed, I need to stop being stressed, or I don't want to be stressed. Let me do something else. Let me have a different thought pattern. I am grateful for insert here, break the cycle, break the pattern of whatever you're thinking about that is stressing you out or making you worried or making you anxious, and instead think about something that you are grateful for, and just repeat it to yourself over and over again. I am grateful that I had breakfast today. I am grateful that I can go for a walk outside. I am grateful that I have a loving husband, mother, father, child, something like that. I am grateful that I have eyes that can see. I am grateful that I am healthy and able to walk and move around. I am grateful that I have a job that provides me the means to support my family. There are so many things for you to be grateful for. And it is so much better, so much more positive, so much more helpful to think about these things that you are grateful for rather than think about the things that you are stressed about. And once you take a moment to sort of cut out those negative thought patterns, replace them with something positive, replace them with gratitude, then now go do something that is going to take your mind off of whatever you were stressed about. Go read a book, go draw, put your phone away, get off your social media, go for a walk, be present and in the moment. Your phone does connect you to the rest of the world. That is amazing. That is a great tool. I've seen things via the internet that I would have never had the opportunity to see in my own lifetime, but because someone else has lived that, filmed it, and put it on the internet, I'm able to see it and experience it. That is wonderful. But it can also go in the other direction and can show and expose you to so many horrible negative things that you would have never experienced if you didn't have it. So go outside, go get some sun on your face, go touch grass, ground yourself in the reality of who you are and where you are at right now. What are the physical things around you? Who are the people around you right now in this moment? That's what matters more than anything that's going on with the election, more than anything that's going on in Palestine. But you in this moment right here, right now. Focus on that, and then do something that makes you happy. Do something that makes you happy. Focus on something that is going to add value to your life. What is a hobby that you enjoy doing? Maybe you like cooking, go cook something new. Maybe you are into, I don't know, model trains. Go sit with your trains for a while and push them around. I don't know what people do with model trains. I don't. That was just the first thing that came to mind. But go do something that is here, physical, in this moment, that can bring you back to reality, basically. Take you out of your head, take you out of your worry, and bring you back to reality. And anytime you feel stressed, anytime you feel anxious, do those things. Practice gratitude, and then do something physical in your immediate vicinity. Maybe that's reorganizing your kitchen that, you've been putting off for a while, and doing so. That's something productive. That's something that's going to give you a sense of accomplishment and make you feel good. So, I don't know. It's everyone's life is different. Everyone's opportunities are different. Do what makes sense to you in the moment. Do what's going to make you happy. Or if it's not going to make you happy, it's at least going to keep you out of those negative spirals. Is at least going to keep you out of those negative spirals, something that's going to bring you back to yourself, to your body, to your mind, to the present moment. But I think the most important thing, again, is to acknowledge when you're stressed, acknowledge when you're anxious, replace the stress and the anxiety with gratitude, and then put your phone away and focus on the people and the places and the things that are right here around you. And I promise you that there will be a positive change. It may not be right away, it may not be immediate, but it's going to happen over time. You just have to commit yourself to doing this. Commit yourself to this new routine. You're basically rewriting the pathways of your brain into something more positive. And that over time is going to stick. And that's going to become your new reality. That's going to become your new habit. You're not even going to have those thoughts of stress or anxiety. You're going to jump immediately to the gratitude. And you're going to stay grounded in the present moment and stay grounded in the things around you. And you'll be living your life not on a screen, not 1,000 miles away with whatever's going on in this other country, but living your life right here, right around you. And that is, in my opinion, the most important thing you can do right now in this weird, wild, crazy world. Okay, I truly didn't think I was going to be able to talk for that long about this subject, but I think those are all important things for me to say, for me to at least put out there. I hope that, my advice helps someone. I hope it helps you, whoever is listening to this right now. I hope that you learned something. I hope you found something here that you can take to heart and apply to your own life. I had a lot of fun hanging out with you guys today. Even though some of the subjects were a little more serious, I still had fun. I always have fun. So thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in. If you want to support the podcast, please interact in some way. Give it a like, give it a comment, subscribe, or follow the channel. And I really appreciate all the support that I've gotten over the past couple of months of doing this podcast. It means the world to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I will be back next week with a new episode. We're going to do part 2 of this episode of Live to 100, and we're going to talk about the people of Loma Linda, California, which is very different from Sardinia, Italy, but I think it's going to be very, very interesting. So I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and I will talk to you next time. Ciao.